Hello, hello. Welcome back to another exit sign and emergency light video. This is Exit and Emergency 24. So we start off with not an exit sign. I guess it's exit sign adjacent. This is a fire escape exit sign. It's really cool. It's pretty unique. You would really only find this in one part of the United States, that being the city of Chicago, which I will get more into in a second. I've always wanted some non exit signs, if that makes sense. You've probably seen some, like some alternative language ones, like Spanish exit signs or French exit signs, other signs that say not an exit or emergency exit, and others saying stairs or fire escape. So this is an edgelit sign, as you can tell. It's got a lighted white background, which is super interesting. Of course, it says fire escape. It has battery backup. There's the AC light and test button. I will attempt to test it. It's kind of tall. There it is. It has a little bit of a delay. But yeah, super neat. I got this sign brand new in the box. It is a generic model. It's actually not rebranded by anyone. When I got it, it pretty much just came in a plain box that said City of Chicago Fire Escape. I think that was it. But these are originally produced by a Chinese manufacturer called Jimming. I can tell that by the edgelit signs housing there. So let's talk about fire escape signs. So again, the city of Chicago is the place that would have these, and they have some pretty strict fire codes. A long time ago, they had a big, great fire that pretty much wiped out the entire city. So after that, they decided to rewrite building codes, rewrite fire codes, and everything was really strict. So all of this to say they have pretty strict codes on exit signs and emergency lighting as well. You have to have certain types of exit signs and emergency lights, and they have to be placed in certain areas and other stuff like that. So one instance is, I'm sure you've probably heard of a fire escape from movies or TVs, but it's an external stairwell on a building or on the side of a building. So if a building in Chicago has one of these fire escapes, you have to mark it with a fire escape sign on the inside of the building so people know what it is when they walk out the door. They also have exit signs in the buildings and stair signs. So this is just another form of an exit sign, again, to let people know what it is. So that's the only time you would see one. Anywhere else in the United States, I don't think you can have one. Technically, this instance of it in my room is not up to code because this is just a normal exit, not a fire escape, but again, all of these things in my room are just for fun anyway, so really unique. Something else a little bit interesting is this is pretty much the only variant of a fire escape sign I can find. I did a little bit of research, and it seems like just whoever is selling this is the only thing that's on the market, an edge-lit fire escape sign. Kind of surprising because edgelit signs are generally considered more high-end, expensive, and elegant. So I don't know why they don't make a normal exit sign. I don't know why it has to be edgelit. Maybe it's easier to manufacture. I'm not sure. And also, there's no mainstream or mainline manufacturer that sells these like Dual Light, Lithonia, Shurlights, Emergy Light, etc. I guess you could get a custom worded sign, but nobody does that. But yeah, that's about it. This exit sign is huge in size, I guess with good reason. You want to be able to read this wording on it. But yeah, there you go. That's the fire escape sign. I have no idea what the model is, if it even has a model number. But anyways, moving on, we have an AtLight Budget Series emergency light. I've always been a fan of AtLight emergency lights like this. This is a super cool one. It's got a metal housing with two plastic incandescent emergency light heads. There's the test button and AC light. Has a solid state transfer circuit. And it's got two large backup batteries on the inside. It's only expanded runtime. It does not have remote capacity, oddly enough, but I'll talk more about that in a second. So AtLight is a manufacturer of exit signs and emergency lights, and they're based out of New York. Something else about New York City, we talked earlier about Chicago requiring specific kinds of exit signs and emergency lights. New York City does the same thing. You have to install certain kinds of emergency lighting and exit signs, and just like Chicago, they have specific fire codes as well. AtLight is the most popular manufacturer for New York City approved exit signs and emergency lighting. It's been like that for a long time. Unfortunately, nowadays with AtLight, they've pretty much become a shell of what they used to be. They're owned by Cooper Lighting, which also owns Sure Lights and All Pro, and they pretty much just treat AtLight as the New York City exit sign company and nothing else, which is a shame because their products were nice. So AtLight has always been a big, I guess, seller to New York City, but they've always also sold elsewhere in the United States. And I've seen their products before, and again, they've been great. So nowadays, they pretty much only offer a few different products catered specifically to New York City. They don't try to advertise or market elsewhere. They rebrand some Sure Light stuff like the XR LED series. They rebrand, and I think they offer a 3-head option of that emergency light. I'm pretty sure Sure Lights doesn't make that. And then they offer a few other things like an outdoor Sure Lights emergency light, again, just with the AtLight name, as well as some other rebranded generic. But AtLight back in the day was pretty cool. They had a lot to choose from on the emergency lighting end. So this is the budget series. It was pretty much their basic line of heavy-duty emergency lights, offered in a few different styles and a few different sizes. Pretty standard, I guess. They also offered another series called the A Commercial and the A Light Duty. Pretty much just the same as the budget series, except it had self-diagnostics, which I think they called the self-testing or self-test diagnostics, something like that. But again, pretty much the same as the budget series, just you have self-diagnostics. They also offered some other different series of emergency lights, like the AN specification grade, which I can't remember what's so different about it off the top of my head, as well as the H Industrial series, which was pretty much these huge capacity industrial grade emergency lights, as well as some other products too. Like they offered some standard emergency lighting just for basic commercial needs, but it was really cool. They had a big catalog catering to a lot of different applications, and a lot of different options to choose from, which made them unique. Again, nowadays, all of that's been wiped out. All of these incandescent series of emergency lights have been discontinued in favor for like 2 LED models. So a little bit of a shame, but like I said, I've always liked the older AtLight stuff. And it was cool that they sold outside of New York City as well, but again, nowadays, not so much. So something else they did with their products, like the budget series, A Commercial, A Light Duty, and others, is they offered them both in a New York City approved model and a standard national model, as they called it. Really, there's no difference. I don't know if there was a price difference, but the models were pretty much the same. The only difference is the model number had a suffix of NY and a little sticker on the inside saying it was approved for New York City applications. But other than that, same exact thing. But overall, these are nice quality emergency lights. I like them a lot. On to the other side of my room, and staying on the subject of AtLight, here we have one of their newest products. This is the ATLE Mini. It kind of makes me want to say AtLight Mini, which I think is what they were trying to do. But anyways, this almost takes the place of their budget series, just modernized, I guess, kind of. So it's a steel housing emergency light with 2 plastic LED heads on it. There's the test button and AC light. Semi-bright, it's okay. They also offer this one in a 3-head option, which is pretty unique. That's the only option you have to choose from. So this is just kind of their basic, budget-friendly, New York City approved emergency light offering. Again, you can install these anywhere. It doesn't have to just be New York City. I forgot to mention it earlier when we were talking about the budget series AtLight unit on the other side of my room, but even the New York version you could install anywhere. It doesn't specifically have to be New York. But again, AtLight pretty much only targets New York City nowadays, so they just advertise this as just a mini New York City approved emergency light. Anyway, so they offer this, and these heads might look familiar to you. If you are familiar with All Pro, you might find those familiar. Here we have an All Pro APC combo. There's a green version behind it. And just your standard All-Pro combo. But check out the heads. Notice a resemblance? Well, these are pretty much the same heads as the All-Pro APC combo. They are identical. So like I mentioned earlier, AtLite is owned by the same company that owns All-Pro and Surelights. So All-Pro is pretty much just a budget, basic, I guess cheaper alternative to exit signs and emergency lights. It's all generic. They rebrand some generic, and other generics like this are manufactured by a Chinese company called Shengrong, but they make it specifically for All-Pro. No one else can rebrand these. And that's what they did with the ATLE Mini. This is made by Shengrong, but it's specific for AtLite. No one else can make it. And these are decent generics. I know I keep bringing this up, and that's not really the focus, but they're decent generics. They're okay. Probably one of my preferred generics, if I'm honest. So this is just a basic, pretty much just, you know what it is? I just thought about this. This is pretty much just a steel version or a New York City version of the All-Pro APEL. That's literally all it is. It uses the same optics as the APEL does. Yeah, that's really it. Yeah, nothing else to say. Again, it's unfortunate with AtLite that this is kind of all they do now. Again, they have this. They have that Surelights XR rebrand, and then they rebrand a bunch of generic New York City approved emergency lights, and that's really all of their catalog. And again, only marketed to New York City. So that's kind of my speech and ramble. I'm sure it was maybe boring, maybe you learned something or found it interesting, but let's turn off the power and see how all of these units perform when the lights are out. The lights are out, but the emergency lights are on. Here's the AtLite Budget Series. It's very, very bright. You can see it shining at the door and the doorway. Again, super bright. And this other head, I really like this reflector pattern. Other head's pointed right there, but the light evenly distributes in this area, which is nice. That's what we want. And of course, we saw the fire escape sign is still illuminated. It's a little bit brighter compared to when it's in AC mode. But yeah, that is that. Let's move on to the other side of my room where we have the ATLE Mini. It's a decently bright emergency light, as we saw. It kind of more acts like two spotlights, as you can see, but I guess it lights up the area fine enough. So yeah, that is going to do it for this exit and emergency video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you kind of found this a little bit fascinating in one way or another. I guess that's why you watch these videos, because you find emergency lights and exit signs interesting. So anyways, that's everything for this video. Again, I appreciate you watching. I hope you liked it. Check out some of the other exit sign and emergency light videos on my channel, or maybe another video. So that's everything from me in this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.